Come along while I sew a giraffe. And while I sew, I'm going to show you 7 things I do on every plush to make sure it looks professionally made by the end. Okay, before we start sewing, let's talk about stitch length. When a plushie is stuffed, those seams are under constant stress, and if your stitches are too long, the stuffing will work its way out. So I set my sewing machine to a stitch length of 2 millimeters or less, which really works out to be about 13 stitches per inch, but it makes a big difference in how well your seams hold up once that stuffing is packed in tight. Okay, here's a good tip to discuss. When you're sewing seams across an existing seam, like when a new piece crosses over one we're already sewn, pin those seams allowance open before you sew over them. It really makes a big difference. With all the curves that plushies have, it's easy to sew right over a seam that hasn't been fully opened. And you won't notice the mistake until the plushie is stuffed and you find a little tuck of fabric sewn shut where it shouldn't be. It gets me every time. Makes me so mad. Pinning the seam open first keeps everything flat so you get a clean, even line. It really is a small habit that makes a noticeable difference, especially in areas where multiple pieces come together. Okay, I'm ready for my next tip. I have all of my pieces laid out here that are ready to go inside the body. When you're attaching sewn small pieces into a seam line, such as my ears, my tails, they're kind of thick, and pins don't always keep them in place like we would like them to. So what makes a big difference is if we pin them in place and then baste them. To baste, switch your machine stitch length to 4 to 5 millimeters, which is about 5 to 7 stitches per inch. Put a few stitches across the piece to hold it temporarily. We don't want to back stitch, so once your plushie is turned right side out, you can remove those basting stitches. Okay, it's time to turn this thing right side out. But first, I need to clip my seams. So let's do that. You guys can all hear my song again. Clip, clip, clip your seams gently down the row. That is how we always remember to clip our seams. Clipping is what allows the fabric to relax around those curves when you turn it. If you skip this part, your seams will pull and pucker, and you're wondering why your stuffed animal looks so weird. When you clip your seams, everything lays flat and nice. Now it's time for my favorite part. I love turning it right side out. Okay. So when we turn it right side out, the easiest part is to turn these little pieces that are hanging out, turn them right side out into the body, and then turn the whole thing out. It's way easier that way. Okay, got the little antennas pulled out. They're not antennas. They're the giraffe horns. They look like antennas. Then the next smallest part is the body. So grab that little body, turn it right side out. It's got lots of little pieces attached to it. Whoop. And then we can turn the head around. Look at how cute. Oh, I love that part. I just love that when you turn them right side out, all of a sudden these fabric pieces that you are sewing has a personality. Isn't that so funny? I just love it. Okay, so I've got this guy all sewn up. He is turning out super cute, but that brings me to my next tip for you. And this one is really important. We really want to start using small pieces of stuffing at a time, not big handfuls. I know we're super excited when we get to this point and we think we're almost done, but stuffing should take some time, okay? Really, you don't want to make it all the way to the finish line with the little stuffy and then ruin it with a bad stuffing job. If you're adding big clumps at a time, what you'll find is that it will make it misshapen, it'll get lumpy, some parts won't fill while other parts are overfilled, and you really cannot work stuffing into places like you think you should be able to from the outside. So go slow, do small pieces of stuffing at a time, and really fill in those spots. Okay, so I just finished stuffing this little guy. He's looking pretty good, but now I'm ready to ladder stitch him. And I just wanted to show you guys a little tip of how to tie your thread without the knot pulling through your fabric. Sometimes we're working with some pretty loose fabrics like minky or furs that we need a pretty big knot to get it to stay. So I have a little trick for you guys to show you how to tie a really big knot. Okay, so the first thing before we actually even tie the knot, when you're doing your ladder stitch to close that plushie up, I really want you to use a heavy duty thread, which is automatically thicker. It's going to make bigger knots, and the thread won't break when you're tugging to make that. So that's my first little suggestion. The next thing is how to make a large knot. Give yourself some room, but I make a big loop and hold it about where you want that thread to be at the end. And then you just keep pushing this end through your hole. See how I'm just rotating this little end and coming in the back and through that hole? And you do it 4 or 5 or 6, 7 or 8 times, I don't know. And then you're going to have it twisted around that thread multiple times. See that? So when you've rotated it enough, you grab that knot and you just pull, okay? And then you'll have a big knot at the end. See that? And sometimes if that's even not big enough, I'll do it again and make it so that the second knot will catch on this first knot to make it really big. So that's how you're going to do it. Here's your second tip if that is still not enough or you're getting frustrated with your knot size, okay? When you're starting your ladder stitch and you're pulling it up, remember you've got to go up through back to where your machine stitching ended. Within that seam allowance, you can grab a tiny piece of fabric. See that? If you grab that tiny piece of fabric, it's really going to catch. And you can hold on to the knot end of your thread if you need to, but you can wrap it around the fabric a couple of times to really get it started. And once you've done that, that thread is not going anywhere. And you can start doing your ladder stitch. So I like to work left to right, but then I'm just going to do my ladder stitch. Super easy. Okay, so I hope that some of these tips were helpful to you. None of them are groundbreaking or complicated. They're just little things that will help you to make your plushie look a little bit better every time. And as you improve, each time it's going to look even better than the last time. So I hope you download this giraffe. He is in the link below. He's free. You can have him. And try out some of these tips that I gave you while you're making him to see if you can improve your plush sewing skills. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.